Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. Happy Friday. Welcome to today's session of Meet the Global Leader. This program is organized by School of Entrepreneurship Development. Objective of this webinar is basically to aware our audience and give them some insights, professional lessons from uh, professionals, entrepreneurs around the world. Our audience, they're actually studying at universities. So this webinar actually helps them with information, insights, some lessons, advice from our guest speaker who are from different countries. So it actually also helps them broaden their mindset. So today we have invited Miss Yana Fry, founder and host of Timeless Teachings, and she is a force to be reckoned with. She is not just a motivational speaker, she is a certified coach, retreat facilitator, and the founder of the Go Awake movement, all with a mission to make spiritually simple and sexy in everyday life. She does not just talk the talk, she walks the walk. She has coached CEOs, change makers, and thought leaders around the world by helping them unlock their full potential through a powerful blend of science and spirituality. Through her online platform, Yana TV, she fosters heart-to-heart conversations with leading minds, tackling real-life issues like overcoming fears, finding happiness, and living a life of purpose. Whether you're seeking to elevate your leadership, cultivate inner peace, or simply live a more fulfilling life, her expertise and passion are sure to ignite your spirit. Let's give her a big round of applause and welcome to our session, Miss Anna.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Great. So as you know, our audience, they're students currently studying at universities. So we always want to hear from our speaker about the student life.
Of
So
course.
if you share how was your student life, how was study back then, and what actually helped you develop or did help you develop some skill or skills during back then your student life.
This is a great question, and it's kind of a funny one for me because, on the one hand, I absolutely loved my student years. On the other hand, I studied what I didn't want to study. So, when I was in my high school, what I actually wanted to do is to go more into acting and filmmaking. That was my passion. And this is what I wanted my career to be. But then, and I'm sure many students would relate, my parents felt it was not a serious career or not something that would make money or something that would be respectable enough. So they insisted that I go and get more different type of education. So I ended up going in the business school. And it was, it was the best business school in the city where I grew up in St. Petersburg. And I did completed the education at the university there. However, when I look back now, with all the fun that I had during the student years, I feel if I were to relive again my life, I think that I would have chosen something where my passion is. Because honestly, speaking about career and career choices, and I know that here we are talking to students from the School of Entrepreneurship, and I am an entrepreneur myself and have been many, many years. And I have never worked in my life based on my degree, if you think about it, right? So I have a business degree and from a very prestigious university in a country where I was born and grew up. And because I didn't like it, I never actually pursued a job in that area. Also, ironically, I ended up not being an actress or filmmaker, at least until now. You know, life is long. I might still do this. But so far, no. Yet, as you can see from my profession, I found a different way to be on stages. And this is what brought me into speaking, particularly because this is a bit more often working with the audience, right? Or leading retreats or working with larger group of people. You could say it is an element of acting because we always love as a speaker when you go on stage, it is 50% content and 50% performance. Right. So it kind of depends what are your strengths in that area. So to me, student years were wonderful. I mean, I truly enjoyed them and I encourage every young person to actually, if you can, get into the university just for the experience of it, because also you build friendship, you build network, and those are great, great memories for the rest of your life. However, please do not repeat my mistake. And it's a horrible thing to say. Do not listen to your parents. Listen to yourself and choose something that you really like yourself, because this also greatly influences your career path lately.
Absolutely. And like to resonate with your experience in developing countries is almost the same. Like we are not, some most cases we are not, like study based on our passion, what we like. It's all about like making money or finding a good profession or career. But there is a slight gap, like it is also our duty to, like let our parents understand uh, say for example, if I like psychology, what are the future prospects by studying or choosing this major, what I want to pursue, the future prospects, and why am I choosing this major? This kind of research and learning more is, and to let them understand it is the gap among students, because like, and also the gap of information. If I study psychology, what are the almost all the aspects or prospects I can have in future. This is also not available in the almost no information is available in the market, especially in Bangladesh. So um, this is the thing, information. So we want to share that information through that webinar, and it's going to learn a lot about how your experiences, as well as you are a host in your TV, and you learn from people, you share similar things.
You
But
know,
more
it's such a great point that you're just saying right now. And to add to this, the joke around it, the reason why my parents insisted I go to this particular university, and it's not just, it was a business degree, it was specifically in logistics, because they did research at that time, and the prediction was that by the time when I finish university, people who have degree in logistics will have a higher job opportunity. This is the laughter of it all. And in real life, it was not the case anymore. So, also sometimes when we predict which professions gonna be trendy in 5, 10 years from now, we can be, sure maybe only 50%. And the other probably 50%, you never know what happens in the world. But yes, definitely
control.
research and talking to parents.
Yeah, this is like for all. I mean, uh, I know a lot of like so many students actually, like feel depressed because they're not liking their subjects they're studying, their major, like business studies or science in school and college as well. So this is actually important. And if whoever is by default maybe uh, chose carry a major, they should continue it and find a way to deal with it. So like as you talk about also spirituality. So the person you're right now, how like your passions, how your passion actually um, influence your career path during your student life.
Mm. When I was a student, I didn't know that I'm going to be who I am today. That feels like a very long time ago. When I was a student, actually, when I realized that, okay, maybe acting is not something I can pursue because I was on an entirely different path, then I actually wanted to go to politics. And I joined an organization, a student organization, which kind of grooms the leaders of tomorrow in youth politics. And we were prepared to go, into kind of youth government and to like youth office. And there I was specializing in PR. And I did it for 2 years, and then kind of looked behind the scene, what has been happening in politics. I didn't like it, and I decided, okay, maybe politics is also not for me. Then I have to look for something else. And so I finished my university, and I got a degree. And just the way how my life unfolded, I started traveling around the world. And this is what I would encourage everyone to do. But it does not, I mean, if you can, of course, but either you do it yourself, you find a way, or you get a job that allows you to do that. Just to your point, Mahbub, about professions and the future of professions and information, you can learn as a young person only so much kind of sitting in your city or town from the internet, right? I mean, I think it is great that there are these kind of conversations that your school is offering. However, there is nothing like real life experience. And I always say that the best university is traveling the world. You learn so much about yourself, about other people, about different cultures, and absolutely go to a different culture, very different to yours. And sort of with that, I would also add that language is very, very important. Okay, we are kind of all lucky in that sense. You know, we all speak English, right? For me, English not my first language, so it's my second language, and I speak 3 languages. So as an adult who had to learn other foreign languages, I can tell you, if I kind of look back at my student years and I wish I would invested more time into which subject, I would say languages for this particular reason. Because let's say, even if you have a PhD in any area, and then you go to a different country, or life brings you to a country with different language, you're sort of lesser than a 5-year-old child in terms of how much impact you can make, because even a child would speak better than you, right? So what I learned, and my first kind of movement was to Switzerland. This is where I moved from St. Petersburg. So they spoke German, I mean, Swiss German. And this is what I had to learn. I had to learn German language there. And I realized my degree, my business degree from a very prestigious, actually the most prestigious university in the city I grew up, means nothing because I cannot talk. There is no way I can express myself. So people would treat you less than a child. And so language is very, very important. That's why. And then you just kind of, I still feel that if you really want to become very, very successful at what you do, you have to do what you're passionate about. And I'm not one of those people who kind of say, oh, you know, abandon all the reason and, you know, don't think logically, just follow your heart. I'm not one of those people, because I know it does not always work, right? So you still have to pay the bills, you have to eat, you have to buy clothes. And also in a developing countries, you still have to help your parents. It is an
Yeah.
expectation as a child, you will financially support your family. So, and I'm from the same culture. And so, yes, you have to follow your passion. But I always say, you know, listen, kind of follow your heart and listen to your intellect. So you still need to find this balance, and this is a sweet spot. So if you kind of go only for the intellect, which happened to me when I was 17 years old and I was choosing a profession, that's why I went into business. There was no heart there, just pure calculation. Didn't work out because there was zero passion, right? So, but then
Yeah.
maybe my parents were right. Maybe now when I look back, and it was like early 2000, when the country was just going, and it's still going through a difficult time. So maybe if I went into acting, maybe there was no money there and I would have been still a struggling artist, right? So you need to find a balance. And I just feel that over the years now, because I have traveled the world and I learned so much about myself and I met other people and I also worked with different mentors, I do believe in mentorship a lot, especially when you're young. We tend to not always listen to our parents. I'm not judging, it's just a fact, right? So sometimes they do know better, sometimes maybe they're not, but we're not really listening that much. However, we do listen to mentors. And I would encourage all young people to look for mentors. So find someone who you admire, someone who inspires you, someone that you look at this person and you go, wow, when I grow up, or maybe in 5, 10, 20 years from now, I want to be like this person. And see if you can be around them. Maybe they do official mentorship. Maybe you can be an intern, an assistant. Maybe you somehow can be just in their surroundings. Proximity is power. And it has proven by now scientifically there is a very kind of there's a fact, a very famous saying. It is mentioned in many books. It's mentioned in many motivational books that you are the average of five people you spend the most time with.
Exactly.
And
I
it is
like
right. It is kind of
I
a
love it.
scary thought when you think about it, but if you really look at it, it would be exactly that. And what do
100%
we
accurate.
mean? Exactly. And what we mean here that it affects all areas of your life. So if you look at the five people that you spend the most time with, and you look at their health, at their wealth, at their happiness level, at the way how they contribute to the society and their purpose, and you check in, and also their spirituality, right? I would say their consciousness level. And then you check in with yourself, you would be the average of those five. And that's why I do believe in consciously choosing people you interact with. And I just want to clarify here, we are not talking about some kind of cold calculation, right? I mean, it is not like, oh, I'm just going to artificially foster some connections.
Yeah,
Again, it is not entirely from intellect. You need to have an emotional connection. So heart is always important, but heart can go in many, many directions. So I would say, look at where your heart goes and then still use your intellect to see, okay, what makes sense for me right now at this stage of my life? And connect with those people, reach out to them, and that would greatly influence your career.
absolutely. Yeah, this actually sums up a lot of things because sometimes we say, so my result is not good because I am with bad circle, friend circle, or like we have so many different circles that we hang out with, best friend, acquaintances, and at universities we go out. So we have some categories of friends. There are always a group of friends. So if like you have mentioned, if you look back, if you look at my batch from my department, a group of people like for all the students who are from different groups, people like students who were in the same group preparing for government job, all of them actually are now working in different government institutions and in different cities. So it's a big network as well. And for people who are in private sector, they're in private and who were in business or business minded, they're now businessmen and women with same cycle. So everyone is in the same direction in the same industry or like entrepreneur professional, and some of them are still unmarried because some of the group who are over 30. But it's a funny fact because he actually hung out with few friends who are still unmarried. So there is a strong correlation, um, success and happiness that you mentioned as well. And it's not about choose friends like pick one. Hey, you want to be an entrepreneur? Okay, you want to let's make a friend. It's not like that. We hang out with friends. We have to find like-minded people because like if I want to run 100 km/h, and the group I hang out with, they are running 10 km/h. So it will, drag me down to 20 kilometers. So like it will slow me down as well. This is very important how, like friends we choose, the circle we hang around, and it is easier in today's world to choose the like-minded group or people that we want to hang out on, we are passionate about. This is very powerful advice that if I can change the mindset of my the circle I'm in, this is also can help to grow together. So this is very important that if your five friends are millionaires, you'll be the sixth person today or tomorrow to be a millionaire. So it's absolutely true, very simple but very powerful. And thanks for the mention of these things that and for everything we actually are responsible for the outcomes, for the success or for the failure. No one to blame there. So this is also important to mention. As a mindfulness teacher and coach, How did you cultivate skills and refine your approach?
Great question. You need to have an open mind and be curious and just see what is happening in the world and know, according to your profession, what do you need to rely more on? Either traditional approach or kind of cutting edge, new like scientific approach. And so when we talk about mindfulness, for example, or meditation, mindfulness, spirituality, well-being, this kind of industry and this kind of profession, it is largely based on ancient practices. And I'm not going to go into details, but we all know them. So the sutras, the books that have been written 5,000 years ago. So a lot actually Pakistan, India, right? So Nepal. So a lot of based, of course, from there, and is also practiced, in the Western cultures. So the knowledge doesn't need to be sort of futuristic, right? It is actually the other way. We rely on what our ancestors knew, and perhaps we have forgotten. So for someone like me in this industry, I don't actually need to kind of, keep my hand on the pulse of, oh, what is the newest discovery in neuroscience? Because I'm not positioning myself as a neuroscience coach, right? I'm positioning myself as, say, mindfulness, meditation, and wellness coach. And so all the answers for me, I just have to read over and over and over ancient books, the same books. And every time when I read them, I understand deeper and deeper the meaning, and it's kind of opens up to you, right? So, but then there are perhaps other professions where you may be more linked to AI, or you're linked more to what's going to be happening tomorrow. And then absolutely you have to read and study everything, what is being released and published today. In my profession, I don't have to do that. So I only study what has been published ages ago. And I feel that that's probably the best way to do that. From time to time, the only aspect I keep my eye on are scientific discoveries, specifically when science finally catches up with spirituality. So every time when there is some big discovery in science that proves a spiritual concept that has been written in, let's say, Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads or any other ancient book, and actually people have been practicing now for centuries, and now these days science has proven it. So those milestones I try my best to track, because I can reference them when I speak, especially for people who are more, let's say, logically minded and maybe need a bit more information about the efficiency of practice and what is the scientific base of that before they can actually practice. So that's the only aspect I kind of keep my eye on. So, but the practices and the philosophy, it's all the same. It has been for the last 5,000 years.
That is true, and um, there is one important thing to like for doing research. Continuous learning mindset is important because like you mentioned, when you study the same thing, the deep meaning and it makes more sense. So this is so important that this mindset of exploring, like traveling to continuous learning, will actually like help them in the long way. Uh, your entrepreneurial journey. So what made you become an entrepreneur? Because like I'm sure like it's everywhere that people are saying, oh, you want to start your own venture, who is going to take care of you, as you mentioned earlier that you have to pay the bills. So this kind of mindset, negative barriers before starting, you like in anyone's venture, so many negative things, and in developing countries it's very extreme. I mean, that person who wants to be an entrepreneur or start their own venture, they will be segregated, secluded from their family and all the stuff. So, according to you, what made you become think to start your own venture? And in brief, if you share your journey as an entrepreneur, and the impact that your organization um, has been created in the community or in the country, according to you, and why people should be an entrepreneur?
Another great question, Mahbub. Entrepreneurship, one of my favorite topics and subjects. I love it. In my case, I became entrepreneur, you could say, accidentally. So it was not planned. And when I was actually finishing my university, I was planning to get a job. I was planning to go and apply for probably a big company that has been around for a very long time, that pays a good salary, has good bonuses, which is like safe, stable, secure. So I was not planning to be an entrepreneur. However, because I started traveling, and I realized as I shared, language differences, and also, and perhaps maybe some of you already thinking about it or just aware of that, when you go outside of your country, sometimes your degrees might not be fully recognized, or you have to go through certain procedures to make sure that they're recognized. Or sometimes, let's say, maybe if you study law or medicine, then it is very often you actually have to do extra studies in a different country, because laws not only kind of countries but also districts sort of specific, right? So, and the same with the medicine, different practices in different parts of the world. So, depending on your profession, if you choose to go somewhere outside of your country, your degree might not be fully valid. That also then affects what you can and cannot do. So the reality of my life, because I was traveling, I realized I was not very well candidate to be employed because of the language and because also of just different education. So to me, it was a natural choice instead of sort of just going and asking, do you want to hire me? Do you want to hire me? So I felt that I would rather pursue my own passion and do something which I really enjoy doing. And sort of my other passion during upbringing, besides acting, was psychology. And I even did like the graduation paper in my high school was based on psychology subject, studying relationships. So to me, it was very obvious and very natural that I would want to go into this area. And then I got certified as a coach, which was, I think, in 2012. And I started my own practice. And so first I just opened a coaching company and in Singapore. And because by that time I already came to Singapore. So I moved from St. Petersburg to Switzerland, and I moved to New York. And then I came to Asia in 2008. And so I launched my own business also because it's very easy to do it here. And Singapore actually promotes, right, so entrepreneurship. So I think, like, if you're in a country that supports it, then it is no brainer. If it is in a country where it's a bit harder to do, then maybe you have to think twice. And so I just started doing that. And it has been now, 13, 12, what is it? 12 years, right? That it is that I have been doing what I'm doing. And in the meantime, I also reached out into the community. So we launched Timeless Teachings. It's a global podcast. And now we have people from more than 30 countries, from like Canada to New Zealand, everywhere listening to it. And Timeless Teachings, we specialize specifically on wellness, well-being, human potential, and consciousness. And also last year, I launched Yana TV. It's a talk show in Singapore where we interview leaders in Asia and share success stories. So pretty much what you do, Mahbub, just in the studio. And so
Yeah.
maybe you will go into the talk show here also eventually. And so that also has been having a great impact, particularly on like a Singapore, Southeast Asia, India, because we have many people from India also, and Bangladesh, Pakistan who are watching. And so that I feel has been just giving impact in terms of sharing stories of overcoming adversity and becoming successful. And I think that, especially with what is happening in the world right now, everyone can relate to, because since 2020, we all have been going through difficult times one way or another. And so different examples of how to overcome difficult situations in different aspects of life, we just found it to be very inspirational to people. And so it's a lot about what you said, sharing information and example. And that reminds me, the other thing when you're growing up, you need to get access to see what is possible. Like when I was a child, or when I was what we consider, I don't know, probably young adult, or maybe still a teenager at your age of 17, 18, there was no example of women I could look up to, of who I am today, for example. So I had to be a trailblazer and craft my own path without a map, not really knowing how to do it and where to go to do it. I had more just a feeling inside of me what kind of life I want to have. But when I looked around, also growing up in a developing country, it was tough, especially again, I would say, especially for women in that case, because, for the girls at the time, I got my first marriage proposal when I was 17. And so the inclination was to get married when you're very young and have family right away.
Sound like
And
Bangladesh.
exactly, right? And so as a 17 years old girl, even though I loved that boy dearly, when he made the marriage proposal, I said, I'm so sorry, but I'm choosing university and I'm going to study. And because we lived in different cities, and at the time it was just not possible based on circumstances to be together if I moved. So I had to choose either marry him or education. And I chose education. Now, I'm not saying what is the right, what is the wrong choice here. I'm just sharing my story and how it unfolded. But now when I just look back, I realize that for both men and women and, everyone else, that I find education, exposure, again, language, traveling, please do that first before you actually realize where you want to settle, who you want to be, what kind of job you want to have, who you want to marry, what kind of family you want to have, because when you're that young, you have no clue. And I'm saying it with a lot of compassion and love, because I remember I had no clue at that age, even though I felt I know everything, but I realize now I didn't. And so that's why it's so important to give yourself, that time to actually to get to know yourself.
Absolutely, and actually, like when we have people to look up to, or mentors, or some examples, it actually helps us go faster and reduce the time of like achieving things, because like we use map. It shows different paths, that if you go this way, it will take 1 hour. If you go this way, it will take 30 minutes. If you walk this way, it will take 10 minutes. So these are the directions. And if we have this, like the snapshot in front of us, that these are the things that I can explore, I can follow. Then they can, like based on their learnings and experiences, they can choose the right path. So this is important. The more informations and opportunities are available, options are available, they know about that. People know about that. They have this information. Then they can decide better, decide efficiently, and so more accurately. So this is one of the things that we like. We are hungry about information sharing, resource person, so that we never know that like TikTok, who can be of help to anyone, whose information or insights and advice can support anyone in any way. Like this is actually effort that to make sure information are public and available and it's diverse. So yeah, it's great. So you bridge the gap between science and spirituality. So how did you find a balance between these seemingly different areas?
I love that. Um, Great question. For me, it is very clear because, for me personally, right, it's very clear because I have been studying ancient texts and I am spiritually inclined. So, the way how my brain functions, I don't necessarily need a lot of scientific evidence to know the efficiency of the practices to do it myself. However, when I work with clients, as I said, that some people need a little bit more sort of intellectual information to believe that something is working. And this is where I bring in those researchers. I mean, not my researchers, but I consult with scientists. And, like, for example, I did a sabbatical a few years ago when as a traveler, I decided to travel around the world it happened to be during a pandemic. So I left in summer 2021 and got back home in the summer 2022, which was very unusual time to travel. No one was traveling, but I visited more than 20 countries in 1 year. And one of the countries I went to was United States because I got an invitation to visit Maharishi University. And Maharishi University in Iowa is special. It's a university, just like any other universities. They're very famous for their IT program. They have actually very great also like film program and many other subjects where students can study. And they're also known for their transcendental meditation. And maybe you heard about Maharishi, who is the founder of Transcendental Meditation. And in 70s, it has been like the thing. Like Beatles were doing it. I mean, Deepak Chopra was his student. Like everyone was doing it, right? And so I
So
visited this university because
I
I know.
saw a graduation speech. No, I mean there was a commencement speech by Jim Carrey. I
Yes,
watched. I heard this university name. It's amazing.
exactly. Exactly, and so one of the professors, Jim Bagnola at this university, he actually first came as a guest on Timeless Teachings podcast. And I loved conversation with him. And he talked about Zen meditation, and he was just so knowledgeable in scientific aspect of it. So not just a practitioner, but he would give me all kind of statistics about, the brain waves and the science and the Maharishi effect and the research they did. And I just found it fascinating. And he said that they have a scientist on the premises of the university who has been studying people and especially the brain function of the meditation practitioners for more than 50 years. And I just got so curious about it. So when I went on my sabbatical and I got an invitation to the Maharishi University, I felt, of course I'm going and visiting. So I stayed with them for 2 weeks. And I met the professors, and there are some great books, like for example, like Brain is like a river, not like a rock. If you want to read about just how the brain works so that we understand it better. And so there are just great people there who study other people during their meditation, including like monks and students and professors. And as I said, they have been doing it for more than 50 years. And I think they have more than 300 published periodic researches, which is quite a lot for this type of meditation. And it was very interesting for me to talk with those scientists and how they explain it and how they breach it and what works, what doesn't. So to answer your question, I guess the way how I breach spirituality and science is still through people. Like I respect books, and I do believe that when we talk with another human, it is more like a life knowledge. So there are not many books that carry life knowledge. I mean, the ancient books do, but many sort of modern books are just information. So you don't actually get this transmission element of this. However, when you talk to another person, you get it absolutely. And so when I want to deepen my understanding of science, because spirituality is something I have been studying since I was 8 years old already. So I go and talk to scientists. And I pick up a few things here and there that I can share with my audience and include it in the presentation.
Great. We'll also share about the links of your podcast, so our audience they can also explore, and it is public, right?
Yes, it is public, and especially when you go to Timeless Teachings, if you're kind of curious about unlocking your full potential as a human being, you will see a lot of really deep interviews with people, including professors and scientists from the Maharishi University. So I strongly recommend check it out.
Yeah, we will share the links and where to find in our after the session in our webinar link. They will get all the necessary links where to learn more information about that. And like as you are doing, you like as a global leader, have you faced any challenges? Um, in how do you by being a global leader or being an entrepreneur in different country. So how's your experience regarding challenges and how to overcome challenges for all, like in as a student, professional, entrepreneur, everyone face challenges. So if you face like based on your experience, how to overcome some challenges, and if you're doing business in in different country, how to say for example from Bangladesh, if I want to go to Netherlands and start my own business or in any country, how I can develop a mindset like that.
Yes, we're talking here about resilience and resourcefulness. And you absolutely need both if you want to be an entrepreneur. And you will have challenges regardless of your level of success. Like right now, I work as a coach with some entrepreneurs who are millionaires or billionaires at times, and they still have challenges, right? So if you think that once you're monetarily successful in some way, the challenges will disappear, they will not. You will have a different set of challenges. And usually we say sort of the greater your, especially financial success, then often the bigger challenges you have to face because all kind of other issues come up that you didn't think about that exist. And like, for example, I mean, I'm not scaring and by any means, but also you need to think about, money management. You need to think often about, what legacy, what's going to happen after you go. It's also quite lonely at the top. This is the most common one probably I hear from other global leaders that I work with who come as clients, that the reason they actually work with someone like me, it is lonely at the top. There are not many people they can talk to. Because most people who come close to them would want something from them, right? So it's either opportunity or money or investment or want a job from them or partnership. So they feel that there is not enough people who are actually honest and authentic and with whom they can be real and with whom maybe they can talk about their challenges and their difficulties. Because when you are especially perceived as successful in the society, people always assume that you have it easy or that everything is taken care of, or maybe you're public persona, like me, in a way, right? I mean, in Singapore, I'm a public persona. So people would expect every time I go out, I need to be, in a good mood, fully dressed up with a smile on my face. I can't have a bad day. And I do have bad days sometimes. I mean, life happens. And I have family, I'm a mom. I run several businesses in different languages and in different countries. I also do social projects. So my plate is full with a lot of activities. And I'm dealing with people every day, one way or another. And so when you especially going into the entrepreneurship, one of the so-called problems, or I would say maybe better opportunity that you need to welcome, that you will be dealing with a lot of people. And especially if you move to a different country with different language and a different mentality, you're probably going to have misunderstandings and conflicts that you didn't expect because they just think differently than you. So it means that on top of cultivating the mindset of resilience and resourcefulness, which I find people and especially young people from developing countries like Bangladesh have anyway, because otherwise you won't make it anywhere. So you have this from a very early age. But then you also need to learn and sort of maybe add, I guess, to the mindset characteristics like understanding of the other. There's no better way, I guess, I can put it, that other people are different and that's okay. And if you are right, it doesn't mean that they are wrong. Like we always laugh and say, you're right and I'm right. It is just truth. Sometimes it's different. And so when we are going into the entrepreneurial journey, and again, especially setting up a company in a different country, or maybe you join an entrepreneurial company as an employee or as a partner or as an investor eventually, and you still have to deal with people from different cultures, like I do. Like my team is all over the world. And again, in different projects that I do, people are of different cultures. And people react to things differently. So you need to know cultural differences, things to say, things not to say. How do you say it? And fundamentally, again, entrepreneurial journey, especially if you're thinking about starting your own company, you kind of have to decide, or maybe better way to learn about yourself. Are you a good people manager or not? This is a fundamental question. So if you genuinely, by your nature, really good at managing people, then okay, you set up a company, you become an entrepreneur, and you basically manage your stuff. You set up the guidelines, the structures, you train your people, you make sure that they achieve their highest performance. And that's one path. If you are not, and there are many entrepreneurs who are not, maybe you're more focused on numbers, maybe you're more of an IT person and that you don't like people, right? You just want to be in business. And then you have to think very early on who is going to do that part. And maybe the best way for you to partner with another person who is good people manager, because you will need that person. And the reason why I'm saying it, I have seen many businesses from my clients that have been suffering a lot. They lost money, they lost a lot of time, difficulties with board, difficulties with investors because of the people management. So where the CEO would start the company thinking that, I have a great idea, I got the funding, someone is investing in me, so we tested the market, we know it's a great product or service, and then they go out there and then they hire people, they get the team, and usually they would try to go great people, great CVs, great attitude, and then this team comes together and the problem starts, because humans are humans and there is always something going on. And so from my experience, if the founder does not know how to help people to resolve those conflicts, and I repeat again, bring the best out of each person within the company, they have to have one person who knows how to do it in the company very early on. Because if not, it could be often years lost and a lot of money lost in human resources.
And it's like in any cases, like at work, at universities, at business, uh, people, human being is very complex. Like you mentioned several times, dealing with people, it's and some of the skill resilience and people's emotional intelligence. So many like terms are there, but dealing with people, if people are not flexible, have that mindset of to not react in different situations with people. Dealing with people is very difficult, but also easier if the mindset is there. To so okay, if they're like this, and let me change the situation, or let me not react, or let me find ways to how to set things up. So this is important. So if you uh, what advice would you give to university students who aspire to become inspirational leaders like yourself?
um, really choose what you love. I would still stay with that. Find what you can do every day, regardless of the circumstances. And I know I'm not saying something new. Perhaps you have heard this before, that it's important that we identify what it is that we like doing every day, even if no one is paying us, and make it a profession. Many other people have said it before me, so it's not original. However, I'm emphasizing it over and over again because you are right now at the age where you are setting the course of your life for the next like 20, 30, 40 years. And if you don't follow your heart, like if you only choose logically, if you try to calculate, right, by numbers, what is the ideal profession, you're not going to last in it. That's the problem with that. So you might get degree in this, and you might get job, and you might get a very high paying job, but then 10, 15, maximum 20 years. And you're going to be then probably like a client of another coach, maybe not me by that time, when, when people reach their 40s and they go through a famous middle life crisis. Even though now I think we all live longer. So I would say maybe not middle life crisis. But that's why it happens, because when they were in their 20s, or when they were 17, 18, they didn't choose the path that they really wanted to follow. And I find that maybe our parents and our grandparents didn't have that luxury, because it's a different generation and there were much less opportunities. And definitely during our grandparents and parents' time, maybe not grandparents, but parents' time, the choices were you be, lawyer, doctor, a banker, right, a finance person, engineer. So those, I think, four that definitely, and maybe politician, right, those five. So those were like the five most preferred career choices. And if it is who you are, if you really genuinely love one of those subjects, then absolutely go for that, if your heart is really there. However, if you are not, if you want to do something else, right now there is unlimited number of ways how you can make money while doing what you love. And so I would encourage you to be creative about it, and check in with yourself what it is that you want. Find a mentor in that particular area who can help you to get there. Absolutely get your parents on board. So find all the way you can explain to them, if you're choosing something unconventional or less conventional, why it will work, because you're sure it will work. And then just go and pursue that. And my hope that when you are 40 years old, you are fulfilled. You would have 20 years of career that you love. You would be hugely successful because you love it. And the most important, you would be very, very happy because you are where you're meant to be. You are doing what you're meant to do, and you are helping people that you're meant to help. And this is just a great life for any human being.
The positivity, like to see life, as you mentioned, as explore so many things to see, so many things to do. It's a colorful and adventurous journey, and also if we like think about like finding your passion is going to define success, and if we like, oh, where is my passion? If we keep like digging in a wrong way, it is not going to work maybe. So along the way, if we work or like go forward with our life, maybe my passion will come. Maybe it is in a scattered way, but maybe today or tomorrow, by doing things, I will find my passion, or we can find our passion. And it is not like that by continuously thinking about what is my passion is going to solve. I'll better like explore different ways, different activities that may actually help them find their own passion. So thank you, Miss Yana, for yeah. No, no,
Um,
please.
Yes, it's just I find it's very important what you said right now, because often people make a big deal out of finding their
Yeah,
passion. It's exactly, to your point. So please do not freeze there. This is my message for
yeah,
young people. Like, I fully support you. And when I say follow your passion, it's not something grand, and doesn't
yeah,
even have to be specific. It could be something small and very broad. And you just go, like, for example, you could say, well, my passion are people. Like, I definitely want to be in a job where I deal with people. Or my passion are numbers. I want to be, maybe more in a job where I deal with spreadsheets. Or I'm an indoor person, I'm an outdoor person. I love to travel, I don't love to travel, right? So it could be like just direction, kind of where you go. And maybe just final kind of words from me. It's an interesting saying, actually, from one of my acting teachers when I was a teenager and I was studying this. And if you want to be in the acting, then when you're young, especially, everyone wants to have the leading role, because you feel that if you are the lead actor, you will make the biggest impact. So you
yeah.
want to have what we called the big role. And I remember our teacher told us once that there are no big roles, there are small actors. And there are no small roles, there are big actors. And so to us, right, the kind of understanding was even if you have 2 minutes of time on stage, if you fully give your heart and mind and intellect into that performance, then the audience sometimes remembers you more than the lead actor. And the same goes in any job. You don't have to be right now founder and CEO of the company. You can just have any job within any company or start very small. But if you go full on 100%, you will make an impact.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, no one has become entrepreneur or CEOs in one day. Like, like
Exactly.
because you have different experiences, different roles, and then you put together and you have become an entrepreneur. So no one is going to, like climb the ladder of 50 stairs in one time, at one time. So this is important that everything takes time, but like the time they should utilize way more efficiently. Thank you so much, Miss Yana, for this wonderful and incredible brief lessons and some advice and wonderful point that you have mentioned, that students, not only students, as a human being, we should consider as well and follow as well is very helpful. So, on behalf of School of Entrepreneurship Development, I would like to share our sincere gratitude and for your time, that valuable time, apart from your valuable time, you have invested and shared for the students of Bangladesh, and we are grateful for that. We wish you very best of luck, and we may find ways to collaborate in your future.
Absolutely. And I just also want to say out there for those who are inclined more into the wellness, consciousness, spirituality, and you feel you are looking for mentor, like I am not offering official mentorship right now. However, you can always reach out and ask, right? So if you find me on social media and you have a question and you're at the like cross somewhere and you try to make a decision, where do you want to go? How do you start? Which company you want to work with? And you just want to have a second opinion or an opinion about something, then you can always reach out and I will definitely find time to get back to you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good day.
Thank you.